Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Dude, I Love That. I'm Liv, and today we're doing yet another Netflix original movie, The Adam Project. And this one's going to be really interesting because I'm actually doing separate typings for young Adam and older Adam because I felt like it was warranted. And even though, yes, you can't technically like change your type midway through life, I do think it's really interesting because these two characters do seem quite different in their ages. And so we want to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about the other main characters. So, first off, we have to start with young Adam, of course. And, I was going back and forth like, is he a seven? Is he an eight? And I landed on seven because I truly do think that he has a very strong six wing, very strong eight wing as well. But I think the six comes out a ton. And I don't think it would make sense for him to be an eight. Even if he had a six in his tri type, I just really think that he's a seven wing six versus an eight wing seven. And so, or excuse me, a seven with six wing versus an eight with a seven wing or something like that. And so I ended up choosing the seven for him because he does have so much energy, but in this really fascinating way. And I think the fun part is that the seven connects to five in health. And so we see him a lot with his hobbies and he kind of zones in on what he's interested in, just like that type five, and goes for it and really wants to learn everything he can about it. And that comes out several times in the movie where they're talking about complex things like, quantum physics, and he's able to follow along. And people don't expect that from him. And then he's able to just like pull it out of his hat, and everyone's like, what? And so that's where you can tell the seven is so good at having their little interests and hobbies and being able to kind of go away from everybody because typically they're extroverts. So they have their time of retreat. They're able to recharge with their hobbies. And so they come back and they like blow you away with their knowledge. And that's what we see from him. But the other funny part is this: he is constantly asking why. Why this? Why that? Why can't we do this? Why are you going to do that over there? And that really is his first instinct. Like he just wants to know what is going on. And that's why I ended up giving him a six wing in certain situations because he really does have like a situational six. Is that a thing? No. But he definitely has that eight wing at other times, and he's very bold and intense in his own little way. And he's not as intense as actually having a type eight personality. And he's got a lot more of that energy and that spunk that you'll see more from the seven. And I think he does pull on his eight a lot, but like I said, he also pulls on his six a ton. And so I actually would like to say that he has equal wings and uses them both really well. Some other things about young Adam that cracked me up is the fact that he's so easily intrigued and he really does want things explained to him as if he's an adult. And it's funny because even like his mom treats him as an adult, and to see that, he has these full views of life. Like he does not look at life like he's a kid. But it's so funny because everyone does kind of treat him like he's an adult because he warrants that. His attitude and his actions warrant him being treated like an adult. And the seven, because they do have those six and eight wings, they've just got so much going on, and they do have more energy than the six and the eight, and so they're able to do more and bounce around a little bit more. And what's so hilarious about Adam is the fact that he uses logic and wit in order to get out of situations. We see that in the beginning of the movie with the bullies. He was just able to be like, guys, I don't think you want to do that because of blah, 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 which again is him using that six and kind of being the problem solver. And he's really able to come to the table and bring things forward that are so true that you really can't argue with them. And that it ends up hanging the other person up that was trying to come at him. And he does this all the time with his mom, too. He's able to kind of be like, no, can't do that because you told me to do this. And it ends up being like, yep, you did tell him to do that. And so now he's not going to follow what you said because he's following what you originally said. This is getting very confusing, but hopefully you're tracking with me. If you've seen the movie, you'll get it. But it's just really funny to see a young seven that is so mature and wise and hilarious. And then, of course, you cannot have young Adam without older Adam. And I actually typed him as an eight wing seven. And so he's kind of the exact opposite or exact flipped numbers of young Adam. But I decided to go with that eight for older Adam because he really is more irreverent. He's very sarcastic, very dry with his humor. And that's something that you're going to see more from that type eight. They'll say things and they won't really have like too much inflection on it. They'll just kind of say it and it just is what it is, but it's so funny. And that's where he's able to kind of take like a dark approach to situations where or maybe dark humor is probably the better term, but he sees situations and it is kind of grim, and he kind of cracks like a very dry joke that in his mind might be lightening the mood but isn't really. And so that's where I was just like, oh golly, it's that eight humor again. And then a couple of other things that I'm like, oh, he's definitely an eight. He wanted to be in control of the situation, and when young Adam would ask a bunch of questions, he'd be like, no, 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 quiet, because this is too much. I have to use my mental energy for the important things, and answering your 1,001 questions is not important. And so that's what's so funny because in the gut triad, eights, nines, and ones, they really are careful about how energy is expended. And so if they feel like someone is being a time suck, it's so frustrating for them because they really do want to be so purposeful with how their energy is spent. And so if they feel like something is wasting their time or something's taking their time against their will, it is so annoying for them. And so that's where he's kind of like, I don't want to bring you around with me, but yet I'm still going to bring you around with me because I can't just leave you here. And what's so interesting about older Adam that honestly made a lot of things click for me was the fact that, a lot of people, if they saw their younger self in human form and they were standing in front of them, they would have such a different approach than what he took with Adam. But it's almost like he was making up for what didn't happen in his childhood in terms of, no one ever really challenged him or was able to kind of one up him. And he was always the strongest personality in the room. And so now, being an adult and being more eight, he's coming at this and he's actually treating Adam like it's not himself, if that makes sense. He's seeing him as like his own person. And he's like, I know what you've got going on, and I know that no one's ever challenged you before. So here I am, and we're going to do this. And you're not going to get away with what you've gotten away with. And I'm going to show you the things that you would not have understood until later in life, but I'm going to tell you now. Even though he knows that he's going to forget all this when, the time corrects itself or whatever, it's almost like he's doing it for his own conscience sake versus the well-being of Adam. But I think in a lot of ways, he's kind of like punishing himself in reverse. It's really interesting to see because he does care about his younger self, but he doesn't care so much that he's willing to let younger Adam go on with the same quote flaws that he feels he has or that he had when he was younger. This is very confusing with all the different Adams, but it's really interesting to see. And a couple of other things I wrote down. He's very secretive and protective. It's funny because he's protective of Adam or younger Adam. He's protective of him from other people, but he does not protect him at all from his own self as older Adam. And, he just lets him have it. He really does. Like I said, he kind of treats him like a completely different person. And so he's like, no, I can razz him. I can be mean to him. It doesn't matter. But if someone else does, oh, it's on. And so that's where I just thought it was so funny. It's like that eight that kind of flip flops between being very like bold and in your face and then also being like, oh my gosh, the puppies, that's one thing. Oh my gosh, eights, it's so funny. If you're an eight out there, you probably know this, but they'll be like really hardcore on the outside and then you get them around dogs and it's like all hell breaks loose. I mean, it is a completely different person. And so that's what I just thought was so cute about that relationship. Oh, and the way that he approached the bully situation. So like pretty soon after older Adam meets younger Adam, we can see that they have that whole bully confrontation with younger Adam and these school bullies. And, the first thing that he does is he's like, no, you have to deal with this. Like, you have to do this situation because if you don't now, you'll never learn. And that is such a type eight parenting approach because they want their kids to be well equipped for the real world. And so they're going to push them into situations that otherwise might be uncomfortable or other parents would tend to shield them from because they'd be more concerned about how it would hurt their feelings or what it would do to them mentally. But the eight's like, no, I have to prepare you. This is what the world's like, and I want you to be well equipped to be able to handle it. And so that's where we see him kind of push him into the bully situation. And then obviously he has to take charge again and kind of let everybody have it, but it was just interesting to see that. And again, like I said, he is more secretive. He doesn't want anyone in his business. He wants to have full control of his life, basically. Like he does not want anyone controlling what he does or doesn't do. And so again, that's very eight wing seven versus like even an eight wing nine, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it is interesting to just see the eight wing seven versus the seven wing eight. And then let's talk about Adam's mom. Oh my gosh, Jennifer Garner. She always plays like the cutest little dumpling of a human. It's just adorable. And I actually went back and forth of is she a two or is she a six? And I ended up choosing a type six for her because when I actually sat there and was trying to figure out how she was making her decisions, it was definitely coming from more of a head space than it was a heart space. And I say that because remember, type six is in the head triad, and the head triad is fives, sixes, and sevens. The heart triad, in contrast, is twos, threes, and fours. And so we see that a lot of her decisions are very much made on a logical basis versus a feelings kind of thing. And even when she goes out on that date, she's very quick to be like, no, this doesn't make sense to me. Like, I just shouldn't be doing this. It's too soon. And I'm not really interested in cultivating these relationships right now. which if she was a type 2, she would definitely be more focused on the relationship aspect because remember, 2s are very relational and a lot of their life revolves around their friendships and their relationships with others. And so she would be more focused on cultivating that if she was a 2 than if she's a 6, where she's like, this isn't really making sense. This doesn't seem like something that I should be doing. And she's always trying to set a really good example for Adam in terms of not having him or not giving him things to worry about, I guess is the best way to put it. And so we see that she really does think things through and is trying to go, okay, what can I do with the least amount of damage? Which is why she was trying to put the whole date off as just like hanging out with a friend. And of course, because Adam's so sharp, he called her out on it. But she realizes that Adam can take the difficult conversations and she really does treat him like an adult. And I think she tries her hardest to really be a good parent in terms of trying to shield him from things, but she does realize that it's good to also just treat him like he wants to be treated. And he shows up with this very adultish, personality. And so she tries to give into that and really meet him on his level. And so I think that's just so cute. And it's just so nice to see that she's really focused on making sure that Adam has what he needs, but not to the point where she's like not getting what she needs. She was able to go to the bar by herself in that one scene where she ends up meeting older Adam and she's able to vent and be like, oh, it's so difficult and it's frustrating, but I know that it's worth it. And so that's what you're going to see from that 6. They'll kind of vacillate between really being annoyed and then being like, no, it's okay, positive outlook. And then they'll go back to being like, oh, I'm worrying about this, or what about that, or whatever. And then they'll come back and be like, but it's going to be okay. And so that's what we see from her in that scene. And again, just really solidifies that she's definitely a type 6. And I do think that she has a 7 wing. And that's probably why she and Adam get along and butt heads so much. All right, last but not least, we have to talk about Adam's wife, Laura. And this one is so much fun. And we're going to dive into the relationship aspect because it is so juicy. But I actually typed her as an 8 wing 9. And you're probably like, wait, I'm sorry. So Adam's an 8 and she's an 8? Yes. And you can tell Laura's an 8. She's so gung ho on like just going for what she knows is right. She's so bold and so courageous and just such a, bad blank. But seriously, she and Adam are like the perfect complement. And I've never seen an 8-8 relationship in pop culture in my life. And so it was just cool to see them because they really do complement each other so well. And the funniest thing was in the scene where they're in the cabin, you can tell that she's the one that is kind of the steadiest one in the relationship. And you might be like, okay, but they're the same type. Like, how is that possible? Well, it's because she has a 9 wing. And I'm telling you that type 9, well, I guess specifically the 8 wing 9, they are so boldly calm. I'm telling you, it's crazy because they're so good at drawing on the peaceful side of the 9 while also having the same challenging side that the 8 has. And so what we see from her is that she's able to challenge Adam where he needs it and he actually accepts it because he knows where it's coming from. And then with Laura, she's just able to be like that peaceful force in the relationship. And it's just cool seeing them together because you see that Adam really trusts her and he values her opinion and he knows that if she says something, it's solid. And so he's like ready to follow her into any battle because he knows what kind of person she is and he is like down for anything. And then the other funny thing was you see in that last scene where Adam and Laura are re-meeting each other, instantly, she's obviously walked into the wrong classroom and it's awkward. But instead of being like embarrassed, she kind of embraces it and is just like, all right, well, here I am. And I think because Adam has that 7 wing, he's more prone to being fly by the seat of his pants and more nervous. And she, because she has the 9 wing, she's a bit more calm. And so I think he instantly saw her and was like, this is it. Like, this is the one for me. And she had everything that he wanted and everything that he was missing that he needed and vice versa. And so I just think that was such a cute relationship. And it's just so fun to see a great 8-8 couple in pop culture. But anyways, that's it for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed. Be sure and check back on Tuesday for a brand new one. We upload every Tuesday and Friday. And remember, check in on Instagram at Hey It's Liv James for all the behind the scenes content, polls, and more. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.